Great. So this is the fall meeting of the Energy and Climate Committees of the Cape and Islands. And I see we just had somebody from Provincetown join us and this is the first time we've had Provincetown here. So I'm very excited. But Kate Warner and Janet Williams both have things they need to go off to. So the any housekeeping that I need to do is that we are recording and that we will be deciding on the next meeting date before we leave at the end of the meeting. You can use chat. Please use you raise your hand if you have something to say. Um, we don't do minutes because we do the recording. Use the website. It's really quite helpful. I hope people are using it because the summary that we've been putting together of all of the accomplishments is really quite impressive, and you're going to want to see that. And once we get the new energy bill through the House, I am going to make sure that that's new on it. But some of the new news, for instance, is that there is a new a kind of a green community spinoff that's climate towns oriented. And again, it's going to have grants tied to it. So check out that from the Department of Energy Resources and see about becoming a climate town. And we will do, everybody gets 5 minutes, including our hosts. We keep it very, very short so that we can get to hear from the towns, which seems to appeal to people. And question and answers at the end, but go ahead and use chat so that we can answer you during the meeting if we can. Okay, so we're going to start with Janet from the Cape. Oh, and Janet, let me let you know that Jacqueline, who is here today, had asked for an update about net zero, and I think that'll probably fall right into line with what you're going to present. So take it away, Janet.
Okay, thanks, Liz. And hi, everybody. Great to see everybody here. Hmm.
I'll mute everybody. Okay, let's see if that helps, Janet. Now you have to unmute.
I just did.
Okay,
So
there you go.
that sounds fine. Yep. So I'm Janet Williams, and I'm reporting in today for the Climate Collaborative, and it's really all about net zero, which I think at least some, if not many of you on this call were there. But for those who weren't, I'll go over a brief description of what happened on October 24th in Hyannis. This was the sixth net zero conference that the Climate Collaborative has put on. And this year's conference included presentations and panels with climate leaders on a range of topics, including strengthening coastal resilience, electrifying transportation, addressing the twin crises of housing and climate, and identifying some practical climate actions that can be done by anybody. We were really focused at this conference on bringing it down to the individual and the small group or small business or small organization level with less emphasis on the larger picture. But of course, we did include video welcomes from both Senators Warren and Markey because both were up for election this year. So, if one was there, the other one was going to be there. You know how that goes. But they were lovely welcomes. And the whole thing was recorded, and the recordings are currently being processed. Each panel presentation will be its own recording, so you can pick and choose once they're available which ones you want to see. So even if you were there and you wanted to go back and revisit what some of the different panelists were talking about, you'll be able to do that. We'll put the links to the recordings in our newsletter, and they will also be on the Climate Collaborative website. So watch out for that in the coming weeks. So brief overview of the panels that we heard from that day. We kicked it off with the Massachusetts Climate and Housing Innovation Center. It's a new-ish organization focused on that intersection of the climate crisis and the housing crisis. They had a program this past summer called the All-Stars program, which was modeled on the Cape League baseball program. They recruited 8 students, undergraduates and graduates, very talented people, and placed them in town offices across the Cape. It provided an opportunity for these students and the towns to work together with local organizations on some housing and climate initiatives. From what I've seen, this is the first year of this program, so it was focused on building a foundation. So it was taking an inventory of the proper town-owned properties in the town, both developed and undeveloped, that might have some relevance down the road for a housing for a climate smart housing initiative. So that program is really getting up and running, and we were happy to hear from them. And then we had a panel on planning for coastal resilience, accompanied by an afternoon breakout on local climate action planning. This brought together practitioners from Cape Towns and beyond the Cape with the Cape Cod Commission to describe some of the challenges and the opportunities when working to plan for the inevitable impacts and disruptions that are coming to our coastal areas from climate change. And in the afternoon, those panelists dug deeply into how they approached the tasks of developing local climate action plans. We had people from Woods Hole, Chatham, and Provincetown. So we covered the three corners of the Cape and had some interesting conversations and comparisons as to how those three towns were approaching both climate action planning and resilience planning. We had both a morning panel and an afternoon breakout called What Can I Do? Because that is the leading question that the Climate Collaborative gets over and over and over. So this brought together a bunch of people, some of whom are here on this meeting tonight. So to look at what businesses, organizations, and individuals can do, including how to take effective advocacy, actions to reduce carbon footprints, convening other people and collaborating and partnering together, educating and communicating. So they shared some of the ways that they engage and support actions to build community resilience and reduce emissions. So again, these recordings of these will all be available. So if you want to go back and hear some of the great tips and advice that those folks were sharing, you'll be able to do that. And finally, we had a panel on electrifying transportation, because we know that transportation accounts for more than half of the emissions of the Cape. So this brought together people from across the Cape, including both private industries, public entities, to describe what's being done at the state and regional level to reduce those emissions through public transit and initiatives for installing more and more and more and more and more EV charging stations. We know we have nowhere near enough, and that's a huge priority. So again, they're recorded. We'll send out a link when they are ready, and hope everybody gets inspired from hearing some of these good ideas. And that's it for the collaborative.
Great. All right. Thank you. And I wanted just to pause just for a second because Jacqueline Pence Green had asked some pretty specific questions. And I think what Janet just told us means that you may go back, Jacqueline, and look at some of the videos. Were you there? Just, you were not. Yeah. So I think the videos are going to be invaluable, really, to relive. And then, of course, you can always, the nice thing about videos is you can fast forward backwards and so on. So if you find something specific, Jacqueline, that you would like this group to delve into further from net zero, let me know, because that's the kind of thing we can do. So, all right. So very nice, kept to your time, Janet. Kate Warner from Martha's Vineyard, she's energy planner for the Martha's Vineyard Commission, is up to bat next. Kate.
Okay, I will be giving a report for the 6 island energy committees. It will take me nowhere near half an hour. So I do see Julia Livingston on the call and Melinda Loberg. So they may have things that they want to add from Edgartown and from Tisbury. But just to go through this, I asked each of the energy committees to give me a couple sentences about what they wanted to share with the group, and here's what it is. Aquina, along with Chilmark, is just finishing its ETIP grant. That's the Energy Transformation Initiative Partnership Program that's sponsored by the U.S. Department of Energy and the National Renewable Energy Lab. to explore the possibility of creating microgrids for their town buildings. As many of you know, Aquina is a very small town, to provide resilience to increasingly severe storms and prolonged power failure. They have just completed a year under their fossil fuel-free new construction bylaw. Building permits are being issued for all electric homes without incident. They are one of the 10 pilot project towns that the state allowed to just do all electric for building permits. And they're preparing to apply to the Climate Leaders Program that Liz mentioned, having passed the specialized code. Chilmark had the same grant with Quina, this ETIP program, so they too have been looking at addressing energy resilience for their town center. Both towns worked with Lawrence Berkeley Laboratories to design microgrid technology for their town centers. They're in the final stages of installing the island's first DC fast charger, which has been about 3 years in the making. They're continuing the conversion of municipal buildings' HVAC systems to heat pumps, 3 down, several to go. And they too are planning to apply for climate leader status. The first step being they need to pass the specialized building code, which they're going to try for at the Springtown meeting. Tisbury, still trying to get EV charging stations on the select board agenda, although Melinda did tell me November 19th might be the date for that. Solar and storage project for the Tisbury Senior Center is finally moving ahead with the help of Vineyard Power. That's a CVEC project. Our water department is part of the ETIP grant, which I'll be explaining at the end of this, to strengthen the resilience of the pumping stations in emergencies. And Tisbury has a new all-electric school, which will have 5 EV chargers and also solar on the roof. Edgartown received the expert match Department of Energy NREL assistance in July for analysis of choices for a microgrid at their Highway Department campus. They received EECBG grant for engineering services for a microgrid plan for that same campus. They applied for a Green Communities competitive grant for heat pumps for that same campus. They're working on their roadmap grant application and their climate leaders application, and with other towns, a bylaw banning gas-powered leaf blowers for noise abatement. And they are waiting and waiting and waiting for utility approval for the installation/interconnection of a 2.5 megawatt solar and storage project at the Edgartown landfill. West Tisbury just installed 2 level 2 chargers for a total of 4 ports at the elementary school. We passed the specialized code at Springtown meeting, so there are 2 vineyard towns with the specialized code. We're working on the roadmap grant application and the climate leaders application. We too are going to have solar and storage for our library, which is our heating and cooling shelter, and that again is a CVEC project. We are looking at the public safety building with an eye to a microgrid for our fire, police, and highway departments. And we're trying to convene a meeting of the 3 Up Island towns and the Up Island Regional School District to discuss how to plan to transition the school to all electric after we improve the building envelope greatly, as there are areas of that West Tisbury school that are barely insulated and others that are insulated okay. That's a very big project. That's by far and away the largest energy user in West Tisbury. Oak Bluffs received town meeting approval for funding to keep their 1 megawatt solar farm project at the landfill moving forward. They'll be meeting with Vineyard Power to discuss the possibility of solar and storage at the Oak Bluffs Town Hall. The Energy Committee continues to present public outreach sessions on all things climate related. The last one was about induction cooking. The Oak Bluffs Fire Station lighting project is almost finished, and they're working with engineers to try to have the truck bays electrified. They've reached out to the town administrator to determine if they can help with energy reduction measures from the completed town building engineering study. And they're focusing this year on getting the word out to residents and businesses about the Cape Light Compact programs available to them. They believe many people are not aware of the program benefits. And then the Martha's Vineyard Commission, which is where I work, we are the ones that have that second ETIP grant. And it's in collaboration with the 3 Down Island towns to look at strategies to increase the resilience of our public water departments in the event of extreme weather and prolonged power failure. Maybe not all of you know the 3 Up Island towns are all private wells. We are working with Sandia National Laboratories and are looking to use the batteries in the Vineyard Transit Authority electric bus fleet to provide power to the water pumping sites to supplement generator power that they already have. We produced an energy report about how we get our energy on Martha's Vineyard to address concerns about things such as whether we have enough power to transition to all electric and to familiarize the island public with ways to get there. And the report is available on the Martha's Vineyard Commission website if you'd like to see it as a PDF. That's it.
Wow, okay. That is incredibly impressive. And my hat is off to what has been done by Martha's Vineyard in the short years that I haven't been with CVEC. I'm very impressed. And kudos to you, Kate, and Elizabeth Durkee as well. You guys have really got fire under you there. Thank you. And then Maggie, are you with us to do your presentation? There she is. Yep, you're up, Maggie.
Yep, yes, I am. I actually was going to, some of you have seen this because I've met with a couple of the energy committees, but for those who have not, I just wanted to share a couple of slides. These were also information that was shared at the Net Zero conference. So I want to share my screen. Sharing is not turned on. So Liz, you've got the power because I made you the host. You're on mute, so we can't hear you, but your lips are moving.
I thought we did everybody can share, so multiple part. Here you go.
Okay. All right. Share. Okay, can everybody see my screen?
Yep.
So I just wanted to let those who I have not met with, I am in the process of scheduling meetings with energy committees and boards of selectmen, town council. I wanted to just make sure everybody's aware about a couple of programs. The first is the Energy Saver Home Loan Program. These are federal funds that came to the Commonwealth that are administered by the Climate Bank. And the compact here is the concierge service for Cape Cod, Nantucket, and Martha's Vineyard. And what the Energy Saver Loan Program is oops, I should get out of this, is a loan. It's a second mortgage. It is based on whoever's name is on the deed, the income eligibility requirements. It goes up to 135% of area AMI. So as you can see on the slide, they're pretty generous. If it's only one person on the deed, it's up to 166,000 for Barnstable, 185 for Dukes, and 206,000 for Nantucket. These are single family homes that are owned. They're not for rental units at this point. So it's a very specific product that the state is offering that we're here to administer. It is a 20-year loan with interest rates depending upon where you fall in the income level to either 0.5% or 2%. The bank, Cape Cod 5, is our local bank that's administering and servicing the loan. The first 18 months of the loan are interest-free. And this pairs really well with the Cape Light Compact's energy efficiency and decarbonization programs because it covers a lot of measures that are not eligible for use of the highly regulated CLC funds. So all this information is on the Cape Light Compact's website, but you can do, it does cover solar, it does tree removal, roof repair, heat pumps. So the key here is insulation, air sealing. The key is we have to have 20% energy savings. So for somebody who's solar does count, but you can't just see, you can't pick and choose. You have to go through an audit and make sure that we can get the energy savings. And what our role is to identify the different avenues for customers to move forward, so that you're aware of, do I need a heat loan, which is zero interest, but if I'm income eligible, do I get everything at no cost? So our role is to, this is a 5-year program over the next 5 years to help customers navigate their decarbonization journey and make sure they know all the programs that are out there and available for them. The compact also just filed on October 31st, the 2025 Energy Efficiency and Decarbonization Plan. It has 3 primary focuses this next 3-year plan, so 25 through 27, which is on decarbonization, equity, and improving the customer experience, which I've been talking about, making sure we marry all of the programs out there for customers. So this goes focus on the residential. So right now we will have 2 designated communities. They're Oak Bluffs and Tisbury. Those are the designated equity communities. They were picked by a formula because they have the highest rate of low and moderate income customers, renters, out of all of our EJ communities. So there'll be a special targeted effort there. But anyone who is a low income homeowner or renter, you're eligible for 100% weatherization, 100% barrier mitigation, and electrification. So that, could be a new electric panel, barrier mitigation, electrification is a heat pump, fully electrifying your home, all insulation, air sealing. If you are a moderate income customer that's earning up to 80% of AMI or SMI, you can just self-attest and say that you are moderate income, and there's no verification. You just honor system, you'd get 100% weatherization. And then if you want to move to the next, which is barrier mitigation, again, panels, vermiculite, removal, and then heat pumps, you have to income verify, and there's a turnkey process, meaning you go through the vendor that's been selected by the compact. We've done that for cost control. And then as well as generous market rate customers. So there's a lot more I can talk about, but and then we are announcing on the last is on the 1st of December, we will be opening the RUS solar loan program on the Cape and the Vineyard. And that is that solar loan is 2.75%. It is a 10-year loan. Cape Cod 5 was selected to service that loan. So that is a 10-year loan. You have to have a credit score and be credit worthy. So again, what we have now for customers are different pathways depending upon where you are in the income stream to weatherize, electrify, and install solar. The state will also be rolling out the community solar for all. So there'll be different options as well. So some good news and lots happening in this space. The best thing to do is to call the Cape Light Compact and ask questions and how do we move forward. We have our Community First Partnership RFP out for the Vineyard right now. Vineyard Power is actually designated to serve, assuming they're going to apply for next for to do it again. So Vineyard, but we are working very closely with Vineyard Power, so we'll have boots on the ground also to help discuss and explain all of these programs, because there's a lot. It's technical, it can be confusing, and we are here to help one-on-one customers. For the Energy Saver Home Loan Program, we'll actually walk customers right through the loan application and help them get everything submitted to the bank. So that's what's happening here.
Super. I sitting on the Old Kings Highway Historic Commission in Yarmouth, which I do, and a lot of people are coming to us now with the Sun Run and the leasing, the various Freedom Forever, Trinity, the leasing programs. And I don't mean to take away from a possible business, but on their parts. But I think that these loans that Maggie's talking about make it's so achievable by almost anybody. I think it's a lot safer, a lot wiser to go that route and own your solar system than getting the lease with a solar installer who then owns your solar system. I've heard so many nightmare stories about what happens with a bad partner, which not all of them are, but it's not as good as owning your own system. So with these programs that Maggie's talking about, there's just no reason for people not to own their own system, presumably. Maria, are you ready to go up next as one of the co-sponsors? Maria.
Hold on.
Okay.
Yes, I am. Let me get my video going. Hello, video. Start video. There I am. Hi, everyone. How are you? Boy, it gets dark awfully quickly. Liz, I'm going to share my screen if you don't mind. Nope, that isn't it. Ah. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Wonderful. Hello, everyone. So I just want to, for anyone who's new to this meeting, I just want to refresh everyone's memory that CVEC is a member-driven organization, and Liz, both Maggie and Liz led this organization. So I'm very honored to follow in their footsteps. It assists member towns and other municipal organizations with solar and battery procurement of renewable energy projects on municipal property only. So again, this is just projects that are built on town-owned land and for town use or county use as well. We also manage these projects by overseeing the contracts, being the intermediary between the towns and the solar developers, including invoicing, monitoring production, and resolving all contract issues. Liz was very kind enough to leave me books and books and books of contracts. CVEC relies on small administrative fees from all the projects except the initial CVEC 7 and many of the round 1 landfill projects. So we operate on a very tight budget. And just for all of your interests, would love your input. CVEC will be undertaking strategic planning over the next several months, revisiting ownership of renewable energy projects. I'm sure that might have come up in many of your conversations with the Inflation Reduction Act and the ability for towns to get cash credits for these projects. And then we're going to assess our role and our programs for these members. And we are very pleased to say that we received an NREL grant to help us evaluate what to do with all of the maturing projects, specifically the landfill projects that are in Barnstable and in Edgartown and Tisbury, for example, in Orleans and Harwich. So we will be working with them and relying upon NREL's expertise to help guide us with what to do with these valuable projects as they mature. So I'm pleased to report that in the past fiscal year, on behalf of your towns, the projects that they were that they participate in produced 22.2 million kilowatt hours and generated $9 million worth of net metering credits. These net metering credits come in the form of either cash or actual credits that are applied to your town's utility bills. In addition, there are members that participate in 3 third-party contracts, the wind projects and other solar projects. And for that participation, they received $1.2 million in cash benefits that I'm assuming that they used in the general fund, so that supports the respective towns, and also the water districts are also participants. This data, because I know time is limited, will be available tomorrow on CVEC's website, www.cvecinc.org. Annual systems report, just search for annual systems report. It'll likely be under production. And you can see for your own town the respective projects and how well they performed. And obviously, if you have any questions whatsoever, just feel free to email me. Either Liz knows how to get in touch with me. I'm sure I'm on the email list, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. If not, the CVEC director for your town. And if you need to know who that is, please let me know. Just a quick update on CVEC's outstanding projects. The Yarmouth Senior Center project, solar and battery, will soon be coming online. They're still awaiting electrical permitting. The Chatham Recreation Center is a solar and battery, will be reviewed by the town. And as Kate mentioned, we are very pleased to be working with the towns of West Tisbury, as well as the Martha's Vineyard Airport. These projects would not have happened without the collaboration between CVEC and the Vineyard Power Foundation. They made a commitment of funds to subsidize the cost of battery. And what we have found, now remember, let's put this in context. CVEC operates in the commercial market. And for mid-sized projects, CVEC has found that there are a diminishing number of developers willing to come onto the Cape and the Islands to build these projects. There are fewer battery manufacturers in the mid-sized market. We're not talking about homes. What we have seen that the IRA, while it had provided incentive, what it did was withdraw a number of developers from this mid-sized market and push them into the larger projects, right? Same amount of resources, bigger projects, more incentives, bigger bang for the buck. And we are very fortunate that we have identified 2 developers that work in Massachusetts, Sunwell and Resident, who have a larger commitment to net zero than just the almighty dollar. And yet the almighty dollar does pay everyone's salary and pay for these batteries. So I'm not here to comment other than to say that there's always a give and take. And what this just suggests for all of you is that when your towns are going to be building larger projects in the future, we have a window that does deal with some unknowns. And Kate alluded to the Oak Bluffs landfill project. The developer withdrew because the interconnection costs for that project were going to be $2 million in additional costs. That cost would have been passed on to the towns, and the towns were not willing to pay for those additional costs. And what we have found that the developers are not willing to finance these projects, right? Pay for the interconnection costs for a period of 4 to 5 years until they can actually turn them on. So we are dealing with the realities of larger investments, fewer developers, fewer battery manufacturers, and in this process, we're going to do our best to accommodate and respond to the needs of our towns. And we've made the first step, and we're very grateful. Actually, we're very grateful to the towns of West Tisbury, Martha's Vineyard, and you, Kate, and especially to the Vineyard Power Foundation for opening their eyes and working together and coming up with creative solutions. So with that, I leave you, and thank you very much for the opportunity to give you an update on what CVEC is doing.
Great. Thank you, Maria. All righty. So with that, we have our Cape Cod Commission, which is not a sponsor, but we certainly want to hear from the Cape Cod Commission. Is it Michelle or Heather? Heather's unmuted, so it must be Heather. Take it away, Heather.
I have sort of 2 themes here. I'm going to just give a little update on EV chargers. And then apropos of some of the questions that came in on coastal resiliency, I have a couple of updates on that too, or reactions to the questions that came from Jacqueline Pence Green. I guess my takeaway from this group is usually your focus is on the energy side of things. And so there's lots to be said on the coastal resiliency. If you want to hear more from us on that, I can do more to prepare for that at a future date. Just let me know. So those of you who were at net zero, I'm just going to share a few stats that Steve Tupper, our deputy director, shared in one of the presentations. So maybe a repetition, but I think super interesting. So there are roughly 237,000 vehicles registered on the Cape, and of those, approximately 2,000 are fully electric, and there are 1,800 plug-in hybrids. So that represents 1.7% of our registered vehicles that are electrified in some fashion. Zooming out, there are 75,000 electric vehicles in Massachusetts and 44,500 plug-in hybrids. And within 250 miles of Cape Cod, so the reach of people who might drive here, there are roughly 300,000 EVs and 175,000 plug-in hybrids. So yeah, some interesting stats. We're seeing a steady increase in public charging options with 71 DC fast chargers now installed on the Cape and 272 level 2 chargers across the Cape. We are behind in specific areas like the percent of hotels that offer chargers. Less than 5% currently do, and that's behind the industry standard. So in areas to look at. On the resiliency front, one of the questions was, or my rephrasing of it is, do we have recommendations about how you all might think about choosing a green versus a gray versus a hybrid option when you're looking at coastal resiliency infrastructure projects? And I think I've presented here before, and I certainly have been presenting all over the place about our recently completed low-lying roads project. We worked in each of the 15 towns to look at low-lying roads, examine their vulnerabilities, help towns prioritize which roads to look at. And then actually we developed some options for 2 road segments in each town. Designed solutions. Typically, one of those design solutions was a green solution. All of them had gray solutions because that's sort of the norm, and then hybrid solutions also. Not always a green solution because green solutions for roadway projects are hard to figure out in many cases. Sometimes it just has to be a gray solution, but sometimes the hybrid solutions. So how to think about the trade-offs between those different options, that was part of that project. And I think what we tried to convey in our presentations of these options is that when you're looking at a particular site, you're going to want to think about, what's the activity at that site and how is it used? Are you rebuilding a structure or elevating a roadway? What's the projected life of that site? What are the environmental resources? Can you do a green option there that would have a meaningful benefit? And then also thinking about, what's the longevity of the specific fix in relationship to the projection of anticipated flooding in the future. And then sort of balancing the service life of that fix against the costs and other community interests. So there are a whole bunch of factors that go into thinking about selecting an option for a roadway, which I think could also be extrapolated for the most part to other kinds of community infrastructure, such as pump stations that may be located in low areas or other critical facilities. So hopefully that sort of gets at that there's a whole website on the low-lying roads project that goes through the details of our analysis, and I'm happy to talk to anyone about that in more detail. So just get in touch with me. In regards to, how can committees work with your towns on these kinds of projects? I would encourage you to work with your DPW directors to help support or advance addressing specific low-lying roads that the community has identified as critical. The Low-Lying Roads website, again, has sort of identified some of those priorities. You may land on other projects that, are more ready to go for a variety of reasons. And that commission staff can also help identify funding. We meet with the DPW directors on a monthly basis, and the group talks about priorities for transportation funding for the region, and they help figure out where the priorities are across the region. There's also a question about lessons learned about coastal resilience, and I guess I just encourage the group to review the relevant coastal resiliency recordings from the Net Zero conference. There were some great presentations, especially in the afternoon. And I'm thinking presentation by Melissa Millette in Provincetown on how Provincetown has dealt with some of their response to flooding. And in general, I think many towns are having experiences with flooding and needing to figure out responses. So talking to your colleagues is going to be a key. And then there was also a question about disaster preparedness, and just briefly say, all of our towns have hazard mitigation plans. These are plans that make you, if they're done according to the protocol and certified, make you eligible for FEMA funding in the event of a disaster. Our towns try to keep those updated. They are, for the most part, updated. We help towns update those plans, and they have specific actions identified in them. And then the last thing I'll just mention is that if you're really interested in coastal resiliency issues, especially with regard to the floodplain, we've recently completed a whole suite of regulatory tools and other supporting tools for addressing development in the floodplain, including wetlands bylaws, regulations, and zoning bylaws. So with that, I'll stop.
Thank you, Heather. And hi, Michelle. Thanks for being here. And I think it's important to recognize that what the Cape Cod Commission can provide is the model, the bylaws that guide a town, and because oftentimes that's what stops towns. They're understaffed, and so having some work that's already done for you that you just need to adapt is a big bonus. It struck me too as we had that conversation. That's the last of our co-sponsors in the Martha's Vineyard Commission and the Cape Cod Commission, and so we'll be having the towns check in. One of the questions that Jacqueline had posed this morning, this conversation with the resilience and climate adaptation or disaster preparedness and so on. The energy committees clearly are generally tasked with EV compliance and bringing forward renewable energies. But yeah, there are a lot of towns that have CANs with climate action networks, and some of them are volunteer groups, and some of them are charged by the town. So I'm going to email, but I'd like to ask everybody to look into what your town has charged your committee with and get it to me. I'd like to kind of compile a cross-reference of exactly what town has an energy committee as opposed to a climate change committee, which towns have both, which towns have climate action networks that have a town charge, and which towns have just the volunteer group. I think that would be important for us all in better understanding what we're trying to do here and how we can best collaborate. Because it is a little unwieldy. And I know there are even people who would prefer that we had a special time set aside to talk about the waste stream, because that's a part of climate change too. And some of the towns have charged these committees with dealing with that. So with that, I will remind you via emails, prompt you to send me something, but let's have the opportunity for the towns to tell us about what they've managed to accomplish or what they're frustrated by. And I warned you that we would go in alphabetical order. So here we go. We are going to skip the Martha's Vineyard towns, even though you're here, unless you want to say something, because some of you are still on the Zoom. But the first town is Barnstable. Sean, do you have anything you'd like to tell us about? Sean Hogan is a dyed-in-the-wool hired town energy manager. Did I get it right?
I mean, I'm the environmental sustainability manager, is what they call me.
So no. Okay.
I mean, I end up doing a lot of energy stuff. It's a pretty broad mandate, I think.
You could send me that too, Sean, would be helpful. I'll post that on the website.
Well, my job description?
Yep. If that's shareable, it couldn't hurt other
I think
towns.
it's public. Yeah. I think I have it somewhere. But yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I wasn't really prepared to present anything, so I'm not sure what anyone wants to hear
Tell
about.
us about the grant you got.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's
Oh, that.
sorry. It's called the Transmission Siting Economic Development Grant, TED grant, and any town that had a large transmission project going through it was eligible. And for us, that was the landing of the wind turbines. So it's a very open-ended grant. It could be kind of whatever you want it to be, so long as you sold it as beneficial to the town.
Wow.
We didn't have any ideas right off the bat, and it seemed like a ridiculous swing for the fences. But I put together a proposal that I thought would solve a number of our problems, and the microgrid project was born.
And
it's
remind us of the dollar amount.
42.3 million.
I wanted to wake everybody up. Did everybody hear that? 42.3 million?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think the max award was like 50, and I asked for almost all of it. So
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I think generally, like in town when I was working on it, it was like, sure, go for it, Sean.
Wow. Well,
Whatever makes you happy.
yeah. And if anybody wants to know about, the wisdom of hiring an energy or a sustainability planner, administrator, there might be a story there that might help you with your town persuasions.
I guess, yeah, if you add up that and the other grants, then I think I've paid for my salary for the next 450 years,
Oh my God.
give or take.
If you don't have a whole lot to tell us about where Barnstable is and what they're doing, does anybody have any questions for Sean?
I mean, I can raps poetic about the microgrid or our EV chargers, whatever amuses people.
How many, are you level 3 going in?
No, we have a level 3 application in with Eversource, but it hasn't been approved yet. But we have about $1.5 million worth of level 2s coming in.
Wow.
So it's been 70 ports, give or take. A few sites might be a little sketchy, but yeah, I'm looking forward to having those put in. They'll be scattered around Hyannis mostly.
Yeah.
The out of pocket for us will be somewhere between 15 and 30,000, depending. So it's a pretty good ratio, I think.
That's a pretty good ratio indeed. All right. Well, we're going to keep ourselves to the 5-minute limit. And Sean, I think that
Oh,
was
yeah, sure.
perfect. Unless anybody has any questions, we can hold those to the end. I don't see hands.
I think Jim
Heather?
has a hand up. Jim Wolf?
Yeah, Mike. Okay, yeah, Jim, go for it. You're muted. If you're talking.
But still very charismatic.
Yes, you're very handsome man, but we can't hear you. Wonder if he knows he has his hand up.
Did that unmute me?
There you go. Yep.
Okay. Um, sorry you can't see me. I'm having a bad day, a bad weather day, bad hair day, actually, for those of you who know me. No, I just wonder, when you're talking about that microgrid thing, is that the airport project, Sean?
No, it's a different one. That's in the study phase.
Oh,
We're
okay.
exploring the possibility. This would be at the high school, middle school, adult community center complex, and so our hope is to make it possible to island that whole complex during an emergency and use it as sort of like a rally center,
Oh,
and also to save money on energy by having it be mostly self-sustaining during the good times.
fantastic.
So it's a lot
Thank
of
you.
like battery, a lot of solar canopy. Um, the probably most expensive part would be the HVAC electrification at the high school, which I really pushed kind of high in the grant because I just feel like the air quality in there is so bad, and I was feeling bad. I was feeling kind of sad for the babies. I wanted them to have good air.
Good for you.
So
That's awesome. All right, we're going to move to the next town. My alphabet tells me that Bourne is next. Do we have anybody from Bourne? I don't believe we do. I don't see any hands. Okay. Moving on to Brewster. I don't believe do we have anybody from Brewster today?
Yeah, that'd be Forey Weatherby.
There you are. Great. Super.
Sorry, I was late. I don't have a lot to say, and similar to Sean, but I don't have a multi-million-dollar grant.
Oh,
Um,
are you a hired person?
no, I'm a volunteer. We're all volunteers in
Yeah.
Brewster, and our commission is an Energy and Climate Commission, Action Committee, I guess we call ourselves, and we're very focused on energy. Recently, we've been focused on delivering solar energy to a lot of our facilities and energy reduction projects. We're way behind, but are looking to catch up into EV chargers and are benchmarking with
Receiving no GPS positions.
benchmarking with some of the other towns on their EV charger experience.
Great.
We do have two, by the way, at hotels, but they don't really count because they're not publicly available.
Oh. Okay. Thank you, Forey. That's great. And Chatham, Brian, are you our Chatham person today? Mr. Minor? He's got there. Yeah.
Muted and video off, but I'm here. Thank you for having us today. I don't want to repeat a lot of the thematic things that cut across the towns, a lot of similarities, but I'll just kind of highlight a couple of things. Um, at the Net Zero event, we were lucky from Chatham to have people to wear a couple of hats. Janet Williams and Janet Kraus. I think both made us proud and showed very well as as we went through the program. I think one of the highlights for me was um, uh, hearing about how Chatham has developed with the intent of sharing with other communities our climate action network model, policies and organization and tools and so forth. And I think that went over well at the event. And I think the feedback the feedback after the fact has also been positive. So I think that'll be one of the hot videos when that gets posted on the collaborative website. So lot of overlapping things there, and I think on the afternoon committee, particularly that Janet did not really mention, um, Janet and Janet were joined by Greg Berman, who's the town's natural resources director, a real rock star that Chatham is lucky to have. And I would underline, I think, in a lot of the areas that are actively underway at the town, the collaboration and the cooperation with town staff, I think, is really good and getting better every day. And I think that's another example of building bridges to the municipalities that have budgets and resources, and we're getting more done working together than we are standing in our own corners. And so that showcased itself at the Net Zero event, but I think it happens, every month in town on different projects and so forth. We are also working on charger projects, which I won't go into in any detail. But we are about to submit a Community Preservation Act grant application for studying Chatham salt marshes. We received $140,000 last year. And so for a year two grant, we're going back in for another $140,000. It's a joint application from the town of Chatham and the Energy Committee. And last year, the work was outsourced to the Center for Coastal Studies. And so good cooperation between the town, giving us data that we've got any number of uses for better understanding how storm surge and sea level rise can be accommodated in our salt marshes. And so at the Energy Committee level, we've got things in some of the familiar topics, and I think we're also kind of pushing into some areas of relevance and interest that are kind of fed to us from the community and from the work done by the collaborative, the Janet. So I will stop there and thank you for the time.
Great. Thank you, Brian. Okay, that was Chatham, and I think, yes, we have some of the bylaws, I think, on the ECCCCI website. So you can go to ECCCI.website, and there are some bylaws and some guidance. There is some guidance on the ECCCCI website. Okay, Chatham, Chilmark is not, we're not going to hear from, I don't think anybody here from Dennis. Raise a hand if we have anybody from Dennis. Not seeing anyone. Eastham, Tom, you were here.
Yes, thanks, Liz.
There you are. Good.
I'm here. And I was just thinking maybe next time reverse alphabetical, because following Sean Hogan is a tough act.
We did do it first last month.
Oh my God, wow. So we have, by the way, we are applying to the proposing to our select board to add energy to our committee name. So hopefully within a month or two, we'll be the Energy and Climate Action Committee in Eastham. Right now, we're the Climate Action Committee. So in terms of things happening this year, as you may know, the specialized code in Eastham did pass. So we're very excited about that. And that certainly helps us in the Green Climate Leader application, which is ongoing right now. So we're hoping we'll get that submitted this November. A lot of support for that. As Maria was mentioning, challenges with the with solar providers and mid-size, we did not get any viable bids in this last round. So I don't know when next for Eastham. A big project coming up is the wastewater treatment plant, and that might actually help us because we have suggested to the town that would be a good time to think about more solar to take care of all the power that is going into or will be going into that plant. Plus, there is a field that has to be a drainage field, retention field, whatever they call that, that could provide an area, a good area for ground mount solar. On the EV charger side, great news, we did get chosen. We've been told we were chosen for the to get 4 fast chargers under the NEVI program through the state DOT. And the studies are going on right now. Interesting, they are hoping to get things completed this year, which we are somewhat not too optimistic on, but hey, that's okay. At least we're in the queue for that. And just in time, because as some folks online know, our NLX chargers are now dead. So all 8 chargers in Eastham are dead when NLX decided to pull out of the North American market with two weeks notice.
Oh,
Yeah. So we'd be very interested in whether other towns have NLX chargers. It'd be interesting to kind of collaborate on ways forward. NLX is talking evidently about some sort of, in fact, it should have happened last week, some sort of an auction to get another company in place to take over the charging infrastructure. So we'll hold our breath on that.
yeah.
Still no obvious way forward. And in the meantime, with this type of charging challenges, we are interested in partnering on EV maintenance for any other town who's interested in doing something like that. You know, there's power in numbers, of course.
I see Kate's hand up. Kate Warner from Martha's Vineyard. Kate, did you have
I just
something?
wanted to tell Tom that Aquina is in the same NLX category.
Ah,
And
So
you could reach out to Bill Lake. He, I'm sure, would be happy to discuss with
okay.
you.
Bill Wake. Okay,
I
great.
can
Lake.
Oh, Lake. Okay, thank you.
I'll send that to you, Tom.
Great, thanks.
Thanks, Kate.
I mentioned the green, green communities. We are wrapping up the final project under our prior grant. Unfortunately, that has taken, I was just told it's still open over a year now. There's a little $30,000 piece left that is preventing us from applying for the next grant round. So just a comment to the community, be careful. Rise Engineering has really held up, been very, very slow in finishing up that little part of the quote. So we're kind of stuck. We're hoping once that's done, we'll get moving on that again. And that quote is for the fire department HVAC. There's still lots of HVAC at Town Hall that needs to be done and electrified. And final piece, very excited to, as those who were at One Cape and at Net Zero probably heard, we're moving forward on a climate action plan with the support of the Cape Cod Commission. They helped us with the greenhouse gas inventory that is done, and that will be out and available for folks to look at. Anyone who's interested, they champion that project, and they're also championing our climate action plan. And adding to that piece, as we're getting ready for that, we did complete a climate survey for Eastham, and that information is just being released now. So that should be available hopefully within the month on that report. And that's it.
Good stuff. Hey, Roberta, I see you here too. That's pretty good accomplishments.
Roberta has had a key role in many of these. So, kudos to all that she's been doing.
Yeah, you guys have come a long ways in a short time. We do have Julia from Edgartown, but I think you're here mostly to listen and learn. Okay, good. And then we have Falmouth and we have Scott Mueller.
Correct.
Great. Hit it.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm Scott Mueller. I'm chair of the Energy Committee for the town of Falmouth. And the best thing that's happened with us in the last year is we finally were able to hire a sustainability director, Stephanie Madsen, who came to us from Hui, who a lot of people know, I think.
Sean knows him, knows her.
Yeah. She's been doing a terrific job in terms of coordinating our green communities, funding and reporting, overseeing installation of some fast EV chargers, solar panels on some municipal buildings, disseminating information on solar facilities and heat pumps, and identifying opportunities for energy efficiency. So that's been a terrific addition to the town. Other highlights, our committee has been working with a solar developer, Pure Sky Energy, which is planning a 23 megawatt solar array on the what is now the Cape Cod Country Club site It's a 137-acre site. Would be 53 acres of solar panels. And the town has entered into a memorandum of understanding in which the developer would purchase the land, give it to the town, and the town would lease it back under a 20 or 30-year lease. So, we've just been working with them to make sure everything's in a row, all our ducks are in a row. In Falmouth, we have a rather tortured history with wind power, and quite a bit of opposition to siting a transmission line to bring the offshore wind through Falmouth. So those are challenges we are facing. I'm hoping to dangle the possibility of a $50 million grant in front of them to see if we can't get people to be more cooperative on the siting of the transmission, the underground transmission line in Falmouth. And it's interesting. They're right now at this very moment digging up the bike path in Falmouth in order to upgrade the line going to Martha's Vineyard, and there's almost no opposition to that. Yet, the concept of just, at the town meeting 2 years ago, we wanted just to allow developers to do some soil testing to, determine what would be the best sites for making landfall in Falmouth, and that was defeated at the town meeting. So it's a uphill battle there. Other things, been working with the DPW on, trying to get them to use electric lawnmowers and leaf blowers. Also facing a lot of resistance there. If anybody's had any success on that front, would love to hear about it. And we've been doing quite a few public outreach efforts. We did a program on community solar a couple of months ago. Just last week, we had Eversource in to give a presentation on their electric grid modernization plan and what it's going to mean for Falmouth. And that was, very well attended. On other outreach efforts, the committee sponsors a monthly column in the Falmouth Enterprise called Energizing Falmouth to keep people up to date on current energy issues in the town. So with that, that's about all I have.
I'm muted again. Whoops. Thank you, Scott. That's great. You're moving right along. Okay, so then we would have Harwich, and we did have Charlie check, and we had Jacqueline for a while. Anybody still here from Harwich? Kevin, was that a wave? No, okay. I don't think we have anybody from Harwich. Okay, moving along. Mashpee? Generally, we don't have anybody from Mashpee, and I think today is no different. We have some information from Lawrence Sinatra on Nantucket that we've added to our spreadsheet. So we are officially Cape Cod and the islands, both islands, for Eki. But she's not here tonight. Moving on. Orleans. I know we have people from Orleans. And we go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hi, this is John Londa.
And John Londa. Great.
So I'm the chair of the Energy and Climate Action, and Hakeem Jana is also on. He's our vice chair. We've got some really good things going on in Orleans. We just recently hired an energy and sustainability manager, which we're sharing with several other towns through the Cape Light Compact, and that's for now that's a great start for us to get us somebody looking at that for us. We've got a couple other things that are going on. We've got some EV chargers that we're looking to install. We have this is in process. We only currently have one level 2 that's in the town center. We're going to be adding a level 3 charger also into the town center, and we're looking to add 8 ports at Nauset Beach and 12 ports in the vicinity of the town hall. And all of that is in process, and I don't really have a timeline yet when it's going to be completed, but that's some promising things. Most significant, I think, our select board has set a goal for the town to become a climate leader community, and we have started that process. The select board adopted a zero emissions first vehicle policy in October, which we were working on for almost a year to get to the point where we, got it where we wanted it, staffed it through the town, and then we're able to bring it before the board. At our special town meeting in October, the town did vote $100,000 for environmental work, and the big bulk of that will be used to fund a climate action roadmap for the town of Orleans, for its residents, its businesses, and for the municipality. We will be looking to bring the specialized energy code back before the citizens at our annual town meeting in May of 25. We did have that last October, and we just narrowly did not get it through. So we missed by about 6 swing votes. So we're feeling like we'll have a better shot at getting that through in May. And the only final thing I'd like to just highlight, and I know I saw that Steve Eck dropped off the call, but we are concerned because we've had 2 projects that have been gone through 2 rounds of CVAC bidding and have come up with no vendors that are able to move our 2 projects forward. And these are not necessarily large scale projects. One is roughly maybe 260 kilowatts, and the other one is maybe 330 kilowatts, and those have not been able to move forward. So we are looking at the possibility of having to look at doing a request for proposals and try to find our own vendors. I'm not sure that CVAC, unless they modify their procedures, where we're going to find somebody through CVAC. And although there's great sentiment to be able to work with CVAC, we have not had luck over the last 4 or 5 years with the projects we've been trying to bring forward. And that's I would just also like to mention one other thing. We've been working with Eastham on a number of minor educational programs on EVs, on solar, community solar, and we're looking forward to continue to working with them. I think it's been good for both communities. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Yeah, John, I was just going to tag along and add, this is Hakeem, also from Orleans. I was going to tag along on the request for proposals for solar projects, and I heard the gentleman from Eastham, Tom, mention that they were unsuccessful. And again, I would like to recommend that our town managers get together and see the possibility of pooling these projects, because we're 2 miles, 10 miles apart, and adding these projects could easily get into the megawatt size that will really increase the potential for finding interested partners. I'm not sure we can get to 18 megawatt like Falmouth, but the bigger the potential size of these project commitments, the better the chances.
Agreed. I think that's helpful, Hakeem. Having been a person working at CVAC at the Cape and Vineyard Electric Cooperative, certainly that was the model. That was the intention. And I'm not there, so I can't comment on the current status, but it's not the same climate that it used to be. So, but I encourage you to reach out independently because sometimes the devil's in the details and you'll have different details. Okay, so thank you. And Provincetown, I misspoke because I thought we had somebody from Provincetown here tonight, but we do not. Kevin? Kevin's now, he's shaking his hand because he means to.
Yes.
Wonderful. Go, Kevin.
So my name is Kevin Shalou, and I'm a member of the Recycling and Renewable Energy Program. We're an advisory committee to the town. And first of all, I'd like to acknowledge what was mentioned earlier on the CVEC project, or CVEC. We had 3 solar projects that are noted in the documentation, and those are running and doing very well. We have also had, I originally joined the committee. I'm an electric vehicle owner, and I was frustrated with the lack of public electric vehicle charging stations. The ones that we had in town were wired in a way that they ran at reduced capacity. And at this point, they've taken 2 of them down. And so now we have 2 somewhat low voltage producing electrical vehicles in town. Fortunately, Tesla has come and placed 12 high-speed chargers in town, and some of them are compatible with non-Tesla vehicles. There are also a number of other parking lots and hotels that will have some charge points. But the town, again, the public charging stations are still of concern. The town has told us that they will be installing when universal charging apparatus become available in 2025. So I'm hoping that at the next meeting, which I hope I'll be invited to, that I'll be able to report that we're making progress or we have a date for those installed.
Oh, sweet. Oh, that's great.
Oh, and
Yes.
Thank you for including me in the meeting. I appreciate being here.
Absolutely. And do me a favor if you're comfortable with chat, put your email in chat for me.
Yes.
I can copy it. I should have pointed out, I dropped the ball. Sean Hogan from Barnstable has noted in chat that the water treatment facility in Barnstable, he got them to try an electric mower and they like it so far. So as he points out, they're more expensive in the purchasing phase, but they're cheaper in the long run. He can't prove that, but I've certainly been told by any number of hardware store owners that if you don't have moving parts, which is you don't have as many, with the lawn mowers when they're electric, you don't have to worry about the oils and the gas, and a lot more. They're a lot more resilient to weather, and you don't have to take as much care overwintering them. How's that for a good word? So thank you, Kevin. I'm so glad we have Provincetown weighing in. I don't think we have anybody from Sandwich, but I've been so wrong so far. Any hands for any hands for Sandwich? Sean is waving me away. How about Truro. Who's here from Truro today?
I'm here. Lily Flanders is here from Truro.
Excellent.
Thank you for including us. It's been a bumpy last 6 months for the Climate Action Committee in Truro. We lost our founding chair, Carol Harris, who died in July.
Oh my goodness.
And she had a brief and she died of ALS, and it was brief and virulent. And we miss her very much and her expertise and leadership. I acted as her vice chair for about 9 months and now have taken over the duty of chair. For a while, we didn't have enough members to even form a quorum, so the committee just kind of went on hold for a few months. But then we were able to bring 2 more members on. So we are now back in business happily with a lot of work to do. And our main focus right now is the town voted to fund a climate action coordinator. And we are in the second round of interviews, and we hope by the end of the year to have a climate action coordinator in place, which is extraordinary for us. We are also still in the midst of the Green Leaders application, working in cooperation with our Energy Committee. Even though Truro is the smallest town on the Cape, we have both an Energy Committee and a Climate Action Committee, and more committees than anyone would ever want to have. But we are learning to work in cooperation and collaboration more. So with the Energy Committee, we're in the midst of that application. We also, together with the Energy Committee, applied for a municipal vulnerability preparedness grant last year for creating solar mini microgrids and resilience hubs. Unfortunately, we did not get that funding, but we got close. So we are now putting together a new application based on the feedback that we got, and Provincetown might come in with us on some undergrounding of wires between Truro and Provincetown.
Ooh.
So we're working hard to go on a second round, and hopefully that will come through. The outreach and education continues strongly here in Truro. After a brief hiatus in the summer, we're back to our monthly information sessions, which started out feeling as though these were little songs into the wind, but I have been really interested to see how important residents find them. And we've now been doing this for about 2 years. And that monthly information session just has become part of the fabric of the community. And if people can't make it in person, all of the videos are put on the library website so people can watch them through YouTube. And the feedback by residents about how important they find those has been really gratifying. The other thing that's happening here that is exciting is that the school, the Truro Elementary School, is working with Mass CEC ACT School Bus Advisory Team. They started a month ago to help them electrify the fleet.
That's sweet.
So I think that's about it. We're also hoping to start implementation of phase 1 of our climate action plan within the year with the help of our climate coordinator. So there we are. It's been bumpy, but the committee has held together, and we're really excited about the projects that we're doing. So thank you for having us, and thanks for also hearing from all other committees and boards. Being at the Net Zero conference was really inspiring.
Fantastic.
So we're happy to be among you.
Fantastic. Okay. We have Wellfleet. Carol. Make that red microphone go away. Hit your space button or something.
Mm-hmm.
If you push your run your there you are.
Am I okay?
You're there.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So I'm reporting, I'm the secretary of our Energy and Climate Action Committee, and I'm reporting on behalf of the chair, Suzanne Ryan, who couldn't be here. At our last meeting, we mentioned the death of our chair, Dick Elkin, and we had a couple of other resignations, but we're very pleased with our 4 new members added this year who bring expertise in business and working with databases and more. And one of our new members works for Rise Engineering doing home audits for the Cape Light Compact. So how cool is that? Since our June meeting, we've had presentations by Earthlight Technologies, which is a firm that installs charging stations. And we had Cape Light Compact present about their services. We also met as a committee with Wellfleet's new town planner and with our relatively new town administrator. And we also invited the recycling committee to a joint meeting to talk about mutual concerns. Our main focus in recent months has been trying to persuade our town officials to apply for the Climate Leader Communities program. There's a lot of concern about the potential for overloading a staff that is spread thin. But recently we had a breakthrough when our town administrator signed off on the application for the consultant to develop a decarbonization roadmap. So we're very excited about that. In other developments, the town is negotiating with Earthlight Technologies about installing public charging stations in hopes of cashing in on the generous incentives that are in force now before they run out.
Yeah.
A few of us were interviewed about the committee's work for a podcast about climate change on WOMR. And lastly, we're working to resolve a couple of persistent problems about solar installations in our town. We have arrays on 3 town buildings, but only one of them is functioning properly. So we're trying to push for repair and maintenance of the other broken arrays. And the other problem is accounting for the solar array at the Wellfleet transfer station. This array should be covering 100% or close of our electricity bills, but apparently the credits we're getting are not being applied properly. So that hasn't been happening. And so we're trying to work with the town staff to get that straightened out. So that's my report. Thank you.
Thanks, Carol. Well, and that brings us to, and we have exactly 4 minutes left. Jim, would you like to report for Yarmouth, or are you raising your hand for something else?
Yarmouth.
Okay, give it to us.
Yarmouth.
3 minutes or less.
Okay, well, first of all, I'm retired from Cape Air, so any of you who've associated me with Cape Air, that's all done. I don't know. I'm looking for ways to plug in, and I had really fun at the conference because I focused my little panel talk on storytelling and success stories. I really think that we're reaching the stage where everybody knows about climate change, and we need to, it's like when you bought your last car, did you have a conversation with your neighbor about that car before you bought it? So I'm really focusing on that. You'll see me popping up. I got a couple of speaking requests after that conference. One to go to Mass Energize at their conference next year, which will be their second or third conference. I'm not exactly sure. And once from Laura Pankin, who's going to interview me for the radio down at WOMR. I'm focusing on telling success stories. So Sean, speaking to you, I'm going to try it out a little bit. Sean mentioned that he produced more than his salary for a couple 100 years with the grant that he got. And one of my success stories about this whole process of the electrifying, et cetera, is I did the same thing at Cape Air. It never was a question of it being a negative business proposition for a company to go whole all the way into this. And so that's a little bit about myself and what I'm doing. If any of you guys have suggestions on people who might like to be interviewed for success stories, I've been talking to the Lower Cape television station about putting together some of those interviews. But my main thrust is to point out that we have a special election coming up in Yarmouth. I know not that many people in the room are from Yarmouth, but we sadly lost our select chair. He passed away. And so we are going to be electing a new person to this select board of ours. And the person for whom I am working very hard is somebody you might know. She's in this room. Her name is Liz Argo. She's running for select board of our town. And she's done a great job on the hysterical commission, I should say, trying to move things in the direction of like, hey, we can see these solar panels and still feel history. But now we have a chance of getting a sustainability expert with lots of experience onto our select board.
All right. All right. I have to
think,
stop you because this is a political, we're not supposed to campaign in these forums.
But I'm not working for any nonprofit right now. I'm not. Okay, I will stop. But I will say this. Given our current political situation, the local is everything. Do not expect anything from the feds. Expect that things that the feds were working on are going to disappear. This is what happened last time. It's going to happen again. So getting people elected to our boards, as well as scouring out volunteers is the way to go.
Our
So that's all I have to
local
say. We're doing
efforts.
it in Yarmouth.
Good.
Sorry, Liz.
And
Sue me.
there's one person I haven't been able to identify, Ellen. Can you tell me which town you're from? And you're muted, of course, so.
Okay, I'm on the Energy Committee in Edgartown.
Oh, excellent. So you and Julia stuck it out with us here. Wonderful. That,
lot of good stuff.
yeah, it always amazes me.
Are you going to be sending out minutes?
No, we're not. Unfortunately, we will be sending around the video. And I have learned from working with the videos that fast forwarding works really well. It's functional.
The video of the whole meeting?
Yeah. So
Whoa.
you'll be able to see when certain people are talking, and you can zoom your timeline, video line to that person and catch up on it. It would be nice if we had minutes, because I think it's nice to have a summary, but that's why the questionnaire that I send around, it serves the purpose, and I need now to understand the new grants that are being achieved, the ETIP and the climate leaders, which is now more towns are going for that. And we need to get that into our spreadsheet that everybody just finished. But I'll send it around again so we can add some columns and make it even more up to date, because we're just finally, every town now has renewable energy. And there was even as recent as 2 years ago, that wasn't the case. So it's a kind of exciting. And the EVs were, when we first started talking about it, nobody knew what level we should even be talking about. We didn't want to have to admit it, but we were clueless. And now we all, level 2 is pretty much where we're at. If you can get level 3, that's what you want, because that makes they're not tied up for hours, and people can just pop on it, get their charge, and go on their way. It's much more functional. And we overheard now from somebody here that the Tesla, that the Tesla chargers that are being put in with the universal charging head, sounds like. So that's also exciting. That the Tesla chargers are fast chargers, and it would be make fast chargers much more what's that word? Everywhere. They'll be everywhere. So Heather, were you going to say you're muted, but go for it. No, okay.
Ubiquitous.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Thank you. Anybody have questions or Michelle, was that something? Okay, anybody? There is time if you want to stay on and ask each other questions. It's your time. My dog is looking at me a little funny, but okay. I think that was it. Oh, we have to decide the next date. June. Generally, it's June. And we do the first Thursday in June. I'll throw it out there. And if anybody says, oh, that's when I'm getting married, we'll look at another date. November, January, February, March.
That's Juneteenth, and that's a legal holiday. So I don't know that we want to do that.
What about the 5th?
The 5th of June.
Yeah, 5th of June.
That's the first Thursday.
Yeah.
That's fine with me, but
let's do it. June 5th at 4:30. It's got a nice ring to it. Thank you, everybody. I will be in touch, and you'll get the recording. And if you want to take minutes off of it and send them around, go for it. Thanks. Have a good Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Stopping.
Thanks, Liz. Good night, everyone.
Take care.